just like that, they buy it. They eat it up. You pander to them, you thank them. I mean, really, people, I thought you were a little bit smarter than that. I mean, it's just so easy to say the name of the city. You cheer.
Hey, Stephanie,
you cheer. I mean, just come on.
Welcome to the A Show.
All right, welcome back to the A Show with the Kings of Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am Justin, back again after a week. I'm here with Meelz. Meelz, how you doing, Oos?
Well, I got to welcome you back because you weren't on last week.
Yes.
It was the homie Stat Guy Greg, which I have to give a shout out to him because he just got engaged. So shout out to Stat Guy Greg. Make sure you do a lot of congratulations for him because big step.
Congrats and thank I gotta say thank you, Stat Guy Greg, for kind of being the mystery partner at the end of the night at 10:50. Who is it gonna be?
Right.
Because he did come in kind of we kind of knew that I wasn't gonna be on the show. We just didn't say anything.
Right.
We wanted to leave it as a surprise, but I'm really thankful that he was able to come through, and I am definitely all in favor of him being a permanent replacement, so to speak, before the show got cut off last week.
Oh, yeah. So definitely the discussion was before the show got cut off because, wow, that was a life-threatening thing for a bit because we definitely talked for 80 minutes, and it was a great episode, as you all heard, but that little part got cut off, and then we decided to do the little TNA Impact, which was great. I hope you guys all enjoyed those commercials, but he definitely asked that, listen, when one of us is out, he has no problem being the backup. And listen, what do you think about that?
I think it's cool. That's a good idea. I like it.
I think it's great.
He's great.
We love Greg.
He always has a great perspective, and I think his views align with ours a lot on a lot of things. It's just as far as like, and we'll talk about it, on the show today, where it's like we're kind of. I feel like a lot of people don't see the forest for the trees, and a lot of people don't take things that just like they try and think a lot more deeper into it than it just being like, hey, this is just the way that it is. And I think it's like that's that type of perspective that I really respect, and I think a lot of people respect about us is that like we're not gonna go too far right or too far left, and on a lot of different things. Like we might randomly do so, i.e., Kairi Sane and Asuka, but like or the Iconics, but like for the most part we're pretty even keeled, and I think that's what people appreciate, and that's what I appreciate most about Greg is that he shares that in common with us. So without further ado, we have a very, very stacked show, especially within No Holds Barred this week. You wanted to get right into it, Meelz?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we get right into it. I think, there's been sort of two major things that have come out this week that's kind of outside of WWE. It's actually making me thinking what's going to be the future with us discussing AEW. But
I think I'll try and answer this.
Go ahead.
I think we're definitely going to be covering it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've been covering WWE so long because there has been no competition. I think it would be a great injustice to not cover it and not talk about that fan base, even though we talk so much trash about them. But I think that honestly, as much as complaints I have about the fan base, I think the actual product is not that bad. I think the product's actually pretty good.
Right.
So I don't have a problem covering it, honestly. It's not like Impact, like...
That is true. Listen, AEW's Double or Nothing was last week Saturday.
Yes.
Live from, where was it again? Las Vegas?
It was in Las Vegas, yes.
Las Vegas, the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Fans sold out for AEW, man. And I would say, first thing I would ask is, and we just have a general discussion on it, what's your overarching opinion of the show just in general? Less than, all right, let's go match by match. What do we think of the entire show and the first true product that they have their name on that they put out?
I think that, and I said this before, but I like the show. I thought it was really solid. I did not catch the pre-show at all, but I didn't hear that. I heard that was not pretty good at all.
No, the pre-show was pretty terrible. Yeah, I agree. I watched the pre-show, but it wasn't anything of like, if that's this was kind of like the first introduction to AEW. I don't think it was a good one because it was kind of like it's introduction to sort of a lot of the undercard and people who they brought in and stuff like that. So you have people like, Joey Janela and Jimmy Havoc and Brian Pillman Jr., who will presumably be on AEW, and maybe MJF as well, who ended up kind of stealing the show. Adam Page, who ended up winning the entire thing. But then you kind of had people like Sean Spears and Billy Gunn and Tommy Dreamer, and some things that just kind of like, we're doing this, okay? I guess we're doing this. I mean, it's the casino battle royal. So for me, especially even the rules in itself, I feel like it was interesting in terms of the 5 wrestlers enter every 3 minutes type of deal, but I wasn't really like, it didn't do anything much for me.
Right. So, I mean, when you get into like the main show, this was obviously, crowd was hot from beginning to end. There's just no denying that these are, as much as, again, we talk about how they, like the social media presence of them is that like the fans are clamoring for an alternative. And I think that's something that's been obvious all weekend, is that I think the positive of this is that these people do get an alternative where it's like they get to see the people that they really liked on the independents and a bigger stage with production and stuff that they feel as though that they need. Like there was pyro, there was, all types of different things that you don't normally see in a WWE environment. And I think that like, just the opening match was really solid. I thought that the women's 4-way was pretty solid. I thought that pretty much everything, I don't think there was anything like, other than the main event, which I'm sure we'll get to, that was like just, astoundingly bad. Like I thought everything was pretty damn good on the show.
I mean, I thought they had a couple matches on the card that I didn't so much care about. I think that 6-woman tag team match was, it didn't kind of, it needed an attraction, is all I'll say.
And maybe that's like, I don't watch a lot of Joshi.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you do either. I think that a lot of people that do watch Joshi, like they really did like the match. I thought that it was like, I've seen very little Joshi, honestly, but like I think that like if you were a big fan of that, then you would fuck with it. But I mean, I thought that it was, to me, not a bad match, but it was very like by the numbers of like, if you like Joshi, you will love this. But if you're introduced, this is your introduction to it, this is kind of what it is. And that's what I looked at it as. That's just what I looked at it as.
I thought in terms of just AEW Double or Nothing and this being the first show and the attraction thing, I say probably one thing I would have done or changed or added to the show is I probably would have added a lot more video packages or a lot more conversations with these guys so people kind of get to know them. Because I felt like, you have this character MJF who's kind of who's positioning himself to be like that very snarky, annoying, possibly mid-card to upper mid-card heel, and kind of people don't really know about him. But he's in the ring with Bret Hart and Adam Page and things like that. So he's kind of, people are getting kind of notice him. For the women, I think that could have definitely been used. Dr. Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, Kylie Ray, just something to sort of introduce them beyond the fact of like, all right, here are these wrestlers, they're walking out now. And I think probably what I like most when the shows start becoming a weekly type of thing is usually when there's kind of these monthly things, you kind of like forget about it because there's necessarily no build up to it. You don't have any sort of attachment to these matches outside of maybe the triple main event that has been built up for quite some time.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't watch Being the Elite, so that's why it's going to be very interesting to see how how this congeals. Honestly, when they have a weekly television show, we still don't know how long it's going to be. We don't know what day it's going to be on, but it's like it's easy to see at the top of the card who's going to be a definitely a factor. Obviously, the top 4 guys are going to be the kind of like the main guys here, but the lower card is going to be very interesting because it's like I have really no clue. Is it going to be like Janela, or is it going to be who's going to be on the bottom of the card here? But I mean, you also had the Cody, and here's my thing. Before I even get to this match, like the show did a lot of great things to me, but things that set it back were plentiful here. Like JR's commentary was one. I thought he was like atrocious throughout the whole night. I thought Excalibur was good. So it was like two steps forward, one step back there.
I feel like in terms of, I just want to, harp on the JR thing. I feel like in terms of sort of this company and it's sort of moving forward, and it's not that, JR is still really good. All right, let me choose my words wisely. JR is still a name that's reputable in terms of what he does in his line of work. Mm-hmm. However, I think we need new voices, man. And I think WWE has done a great job over the last 10 years establishing new voices. At first, it was met with resistance, a lot of resistance, especially from Michael Cole. But I do think they've established, like on SmackDown, they have this kind of young group who are friggin' incredible. Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, and Corey Graves are just magic. And then they've also established Renee Young, who wasn't the best at the beginning, but is getting there as well. I think if we start incorporating new voices, I mean, I could see Jim Ross as being a consultant, and I think that's great for what he does because he seems to have this still passion for wrestling and kind of the fundamentals and kind of bringing it back there. But in terms of just being on, I can't hear him being on that thing every week, especially in this social media era. And it's like everything's moving so fast. I don't know how he's doing that every week.
Yeah, I can't see it, especially with some of the talent there. It's like, how is he going to,
But I'm sure he'll tell me different. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, fuck it. I mean, JR does a lot of fucked up shit and says a lot of fucked up shit off air. Like, I just think that he's, really, literally, he's just not what he used to be. And again, Excalibur, I don't know if you were familiar with Excalibur from PWG. On the other hand, he was great. I thought if we just had Excalibur and not Alex Marvez and JR there, he would have been fucking great because he does a lot of PWG stuff by himself too. So like I thought he was a massive improvement over JR, and it was just like the gulf of talent and just hungriness, and not hungriness, but hunger was just there. But getting to the Cody and Dustin match, one thing this honestly soured me on the match for the first 10 minutes was the entrance. Like I thought the entrance was silly as fuck.
A lot of this, what I would love about AEW is them kind of learning to exist within their own bubble. But I understand as a company, and especially catering towards the fans, who themselves, to me, a lot of the support and a lot of the attention, a lot of the hype that's been brought up is a lot of it's funneled through the actual fans themselves. The discussions they're having on social media, on message boards, and all this other type of shit about like, yo, is this the alternative to the WWE? Oh, here's how they're doing so much better things than WWE, blah, 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 blah. And to me, this is kind of catering towards that. Now, I think it's tacky. I think it's tacky to get that, that Cracker Barrel thrown and throw something at it and the sparks come flying out of it. I thought that was really kind of whack. Mm-hmm. However, I see what he's doing. I mean, it's a lot of it is just so the internet marks can just kind of be like, ooh, like a lot of it's sort of that. And you know what? A lot of people appreciate that. A lot of people love he's taking shots at Triple H. Wow, is it
corny? It's corny.
So, I mean, so we get that, and also in this match is Dustin, by the way, who's also had some comments about WWE over the last week.
So I mean, sure, he's got those comments, but fuck him because like he called WWE a prison, and it's like that's for one, you don't joke like that. Like prison is serious. Like. No one's keeping you there, against your will, and
no one's kept him there like 9 times.
Yeah, like he's been hired and fired there a million times. It's like I know you're trying to work the marks, but like, come on, bro. Like you're not sending, like Tony Nese isn't sending carrier pigeons over a wall,
right?
To somebody. Like if they want to be there and they're cool with being there, then let that happen. There are some people there that might be cool with what they do there, and that's my thing that's also bothering me about the discourse that's happening after this show. And I really want to get to that too, but it's like, well, I'll just wait till we get to that. But go ahead.
No. In terms of that, well, all right. You know what? We can talk about it when we talk about the discourse. Let's talk about the actual show itself.
Yes.
Because I do think Cody versus Dustin, to me, that's a lot of blood. That's my first.
He bled a lot.
He bled a lot. I think he cut himself, but it was weird the spot that he started bleeding because. I mean, he started bleeding a little bit, and then like Brandy speared him, and then he started bleeding a lot. And I was just like, how did this happen? Like, did she spear you into your head busting open? Like,
is she that strong? Goddamn.
Yeah. I mean, listen, talk about wrestling, right? But overall,
I thought the end was really good. The end was very good, I thought.
I think they're good at these really emotionally charged matches. I mean, to be quite honest with you, a match that I enjoy over the last decade or so, it's the tag team match with Cody and Dustin or Cody and Goldust versus the Shield and with Dusty Rhodes in their corner. And to me, that's a very emotionally charged match. These people are both the Rhodes, both Cody and Goldust love telling stories, but they also love grabbing on the sort of tugging on the heartstrings of the fans. And that's kind of what I felt like this was. Dustin is just a great baby face, still with the comeback, still with the moves and things like that. I thought what he contributed to this match was incredible.
Yeah, especially just showing that, they are going to allow blood, and that's going to be like a thing for AEW, which is, very...
It's a massive thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very big thing there.
But they have the leeway to do so. They don't really have major investors questioning why there's still blood on this program. That's kind of that's the edge they have over WWE in some points, is that they are a small company. So what they have now isn't going to be as scrutinized to the level that they are.
I could live without the blood. I'm cool with blood being every so often,
Yeah.
If that's going to be like a all the time thing, I think I've grown out of that, honestly.
Yeah, I could see that.
I thought the Bucks match was good. That was the other main event on the show. I thought it was a good. I mean, it was a Bucks match. Honestly, if you've seen a Bucks match, they're always going to be at a level that's above most tag team matches. I thought it was really, really good. They went against the Lucha Brothers. I thought that Phoenix was fucking phenomenal in that match. He did a lot of crazy shit there.
I think both of them are just incredible talents and stars, and could be attractions for AEW moving forward if they choose to do so.
Yeah.
Just for what they bring. I mean, yeah, I thought it was a great match as well.
The main event though, there's got to be a real conversation had about Kenny Omega at this point. I think that I was already concerned about the layover of him. He hasn't wrestled in 6 months at least. Or at least wrestled in that capacity, or a big match like that, and it showed. I thought that Kenny has visibly, degraded, since New Japan, and I think this has been happening for almost a year now. I thought that the match as a main event, it was not good. I thought that honestly, if you keep it 100, I think that the Cody and Dustin match could have closed the show.
Right.
I think that the Omega Jericho match, of course, it had the the stipulation that whoever wins goes against Adam Page. So I thought it was pretty clear from the outset what was really going to happen in a lot of ways as far as where they go with that, especially with Adam Page being a face and Kenny being a face as well. I just thought it was a very slow paced, almost at times boring main event that I thought that for the crowd that they weren't as hot for it as they were for everything else. And that's mostly because they had just did the back-to-back of the Cody Dustin match and the Bucks Lucha Brothers match. But it was like, I thought the crowd was, audibly a little bit more silent than everything else. But I just thought that Omega himself was just like, he's supposed to be able to carry guys like Jericho. And I thought that Jericho was also very slow.
I think that's really sort of my main gripe about this match is usually I think the Kenny Omega match, I think he's used to either someone hitting at the same speed or moving at the same speed or something of the rather, in terms of when I'm delivering something, you're delivering it back. When I'm giving it to you, you're giving it back. I think there's only so much that Chris Jericho can do at this point in his career. Chris Jericho is, I think, a crafty performer at this stage of his career. And he's doing, in terms of the work that he's doing, for the age that he is, I think he's probably doing better than anyone at his age is currently doing. Yeah. I'll say that as a sort of compliment. However, though, it's not, I think what I'd say after this match is I'm done with this combination for a long time.
Yes, please.
I'm done with Jericho Omegas. I'm done with, the sort of the luster of it all. The Alpha versus the Omega was something that and people were initially excited about, and we were initially excited about. But the fact that it's been done multiple times afterwards, it hasn't gotten any better. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't gotten any better. So the fact that it was done the first time, it wasn't better, and then the second time they kind of doubled down, doesn't make it any better. But it hasn't been done any better. I think we're over it for right now, which is weird to say considering they're probably the two currently only main event guys in the company. well. As of the roster.
I mean, they added them. They added another one. So Chris Jericho with a terrible back elbow. Did you catch that? That's his new finisher.
I forgot what it was called.
It's called the Judas effect. It's the Judas effect.
Yeah, the Judas effect. Yeah. I mean, that's the old man moves, man. That's like when you don't want to take back bumps or knee bumps or
when he doesn't want to do the moonsault anymore. That's what
he's setting up for it. But Chris Jericho has a history of trying to come up with finishing maneuvers that aren't quite the Lion Tamer or the Lion
and that are stolen from other people. Hi, Andrade. So Jon Moxley, I think you called it correctly.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, we talked about it. So Greg and I talked about it last show of like, if you need someone to kind of put this thing on the map, you're really going to have to bring Dean Ambrose in, and a lot of people had reservations because he's like, oh, he's filming a movie. I'm like, okay, and that's kind of like wrestler buff. Like they love to tell you that because they don't want you to see that they're coming, especially someone like Jon Moxley. But he shows up at the end of the show, walks through the crowd, gets an incredible reaction, and lays out both guys.
Yeah, beats the shit out of Kenny. Yeah, I mean, I guess this kind of leads us right into the.
Before we get into it, let's talk about a little bit of the post show and the reactions of the show, because a lot of people, I think there's been a lot of things said about this show and a lot of things said about it in comparison to WWE. A lot of people have compared it like, listen, man, they're taking it to like another level, and one thing I will applaud them for that WWE does not do. This is one thing that WWE should do that they don't do. A lot of press was there for AEW's Double or Nothing. I think WWE sorely needs unbiased press when they're sort of covering their talent. I like the general aspect of like, it's kind of like the NBA where you have like, they're in the locker room and there are like people from like ESPN or The Ringer or like Bleacher Report or something along those lines. Like that kind of was what happened there. WWE doesn't tend to do that, which kind of, they like to sort of funnel their own story and make up their own story and not have it sort of deviate from the narrative. But, there was also like other things about like, yo, Cody's so woke and,
it's that it's the show's on par with any WrestleMania. It's a lot of stuff that came out of this, and I think that we were prepared for it at the time. But it was like, like I didn't expect. Well, I guess I kind of did expect for it to be as insane as it was, as far as just like, oh my God, Sasha Banks is tweeting about him. It's like, yeah, I mean, sure, she can. Like, it's not
everyone
like
was tweeting about it. New Day was tweeting about it. Like,
it was like, who cares? Like, it was just crazy. Like the Cody thing rubbed me the wrong way because I think that was the signal boosting moment where it's like, AOC tweeted it and it was like, well, she's not endorsing it. She's just saying that it was cool that he showed that he showed that sentiment. But to me, like, I don't know if you agree, Meelz, it was just like it took for him to be married to a black woman for him to even notice that, but not even notice it before she told them.
Right.
It's like there are certain questions that people aren't even just asking about this. It's just like, oh my God, this is hope. This is change. It's like, but I'm seeing that from a lot of white people saying that.
I agree. And you know what? I'll say this. There's an article, and, I don't want to shit too much on the undefeated and stuff, but there was an article with Brandy Rose, and it was kind of like a profile kind of deal. And she had a comment of like, listen, my job isn't any harder because I'm black. It's because I'm Cody Rhodes' wife.
Right.
And I was just like, bruh, are you kidding me? First of all, it's
face palm, all of it.
Yeah. It's
face
just
palm.
And you know what? I want to wish Brandy all the great things that she do. But the thing is, it's like when you've been in the business for, people don't necessarily shit on Stephanie McMahon for the position that she is, and they both hold the same position, is because Stephanie McMahon is experienced. Mm-hmm. She's been in the company for a ton of years. She's had that sort of thing going for her. The reason why it may be an upward struggle is because you just don't have the experience. I mean, yes, you have a master's degree. That's great, but you don't have the experience being the COO of a company. Mm-hmm. You don't have an experience sort of being able to handle talents and all these other things. And I mean, particularly, her last job before this was a ring announcer, and then she became a wrestler. And now she's expected to hold this role where she's in charge of all the women and how women move forward and a lot of things like that. And by all means, I'd say best of luck to you. But that's not really the reason why. It's not
you're black.
Yeah.
You're black.
In professional wrestling.
Yeah, you're black.
And you're a woman.
You're a woman,
by the way.
There's so many strikes against you that the Rhodes name does not matter.
That name doesn't matter.
That, in fact, the Rhodes name don't even hinder Cody, really. The Rhodes name has always helped Cody in a lot of ways.
I think what they like is also the narrative, and a lot of it is, and we're going back to the Cody and Triple H moment, is it's always been an us versus them thing with the Rhodes in the WWE. I feel like they've never really truly felt accepted in the WWE, and it's a real actual tangible thing that they're kind of leaning on. As much as Dusty was a great part of NXT and everyone loves him there's always been, over the last 2 decades, it's like, my family has not been treated right by the WWE.
The polka dots, shit.
Right. The polka dots, all these other things, the Gold Dust gimmick, them sort of not being able to work with Dustin, but able to give him this sort of gimmick, which is like, sort of taking him out of his element. Cody Rhodes end up leaving himself, or this sort of, just how he's been handled in the WWE, a lot of things. It's a lot of, narrative sort of coming to light and coming at the same time, a lot of different things.
It's great. It's great to have that narrative. It's great to have all of that. But it's like, when you're setting yourself to be, we are way more morally high than these people. And it's just like, okay, you work with the Khans, who are also Trump supporters. Cody, you yourself supported Ted Cruz. I think that it's really, people should really just calm down, take a break. Also, the Bucks, Mike Pence supporters. I mean, really, let's stop trying to hold high moral ground for pro wrestling. It's all trash.
Right.
It's all trash. WWE's going to Saudi Arabia, and people are going to talk about what AEW is doing or what they're doing. It's just like, okay, but when they start getting investors and they start seeing that bag and it starts changing, then what's going to happen? It's all good right now. Mm-hmm. But I think the AEW needs to focus on the wrestling.
I think they need to they need to focus on AEW as a bubble.
They do not need to bring I cool for Double or Nothing right now, but it's just like, you got Moxley cutting anti-WWE promos. It's just like, you can't say this is a revolution, and then in the first time you're showing, you're beating up VPs of the company.
Right.
It's like, it just doesn't make, it's not like, this isn't Stone Cold Reborn, because you guys tried to do that with Becky Lynch a couple months ago. Like, this is its own thing. And it's like, I think that they are too worried about what WWE is doing. Honestly, for all intents and purposes, we have a solid plan of what they're going to be doing. We know what's going to happen with them. We know what it is. We know what this product is. And, for better or worse, creatively, and we'll get to this when we talk about Moxley, that's what we know we're going to get. With AEW, I still don't know. But I do know that one thing, Impact did the same shit for years. Mm-hmm. And they were always second.
So that's kind of like, in terms of just moving forward with AEW, that's kind of also been my thing as well, is that we really kind of need to focus on AEW. My focus is on, how do I get to know these guys? Mm-hmm. How do I get to really absorb these guys? I think a lot of things from the past have told you that an influx, while the talent is good, an influx of major WWE bred talent doesn't always end up the best for everybody. WCW will show you that.
Like, Moxley's gonna get them some eyes.
Oh yeah, sure. But he's, to me, he'll be known as a WWE guy who jumped ship, and eventually, listen, this is my experience just from watching WCW, from watching Impact, from watching most other things. they leave WWE, but then they always come back.
Yeah.
And they're known as WWE guys. That's kind of the thing too, right? So it's kind of like you see Impact Wrestling in the roster that they had a lot. The most flourishing period they had was when they had the Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, and a lot of the people that they're sort of cultivating on their own and rebuilding those stars and getting their name out there and all this other stuff. And that's when they were averaging 1 million viewers and maybe more than that, et cetera, et cetera. That's when they were kind of doing that. When they started leaning so much on them was when they had a problem. And then when everyone was leaving, that's when they had a problem. I think you need to sort of start focusing on building up the Adam Pages, the MJFs, a lot of the other guys, the Young Bucks. This is the first time Young Bucks is on a national stage, the biggest stage that they've had in America.
Yep.
I think you need to start focusing on those and really start bringing those characters to life. It's different. And we're going to talk about the Jon Moxley thing. But it's different now because there's not a lot of stakes on the line. There's not a lot of things being done. There's not a lot of characters being built. But when the creative starts to kick in, then things are going to get a little bit different, I'm sure.
Like there's no story right now.
Yeah, there's no story right now.
We'll see what happens.
There's not much to critique. All you got is, damn, those matches were good. Well, WWE has a great match every week. Like at least 2 every week. And you can't compare a pay-per-view to the like weekly television shows where things are being written and things, but it is what it is. But you know what? Let's transition.
Yeah, we got to get to this Jon Moxley stuff. So he did appear on Talk is Jericho, his first interview post WWE. He talked about a lot of things. Meelz, you want to like run down some things that you heard when you listened to it? I listened to some of it, and the rest of it, I don't like the way he tells stories, so I just kind of cliff noted the rest.
So what I can say is from this Jon Moxley interview, I think he came in extremely hot.
He did not stop talking from the moment they said hi.
but I think a lot of it was so. All right, how do I travel these thoughts? I think he came in extremely hot, and I think he came in with a purpose. I think he came in with a purpose because a lot of things have been said in terms of why he's left WWE, how he's leaving WWE, what happened when he left WWE, and all of those have not been first-handed information. Mm-hmm. And we watched sort of dirt sheets, and we've watched people, and a lot of people try to characterize what Dean Ambrose leaving WWE was, but not really know why. So I think a lot of excitement and a lot of why he came in really, really hot was mainly because like he wanted to tell his story. And a lot of his story, the overarching theme of his story, I can respect. I didn't like it here. I didn't like what they were doing. I want to leave. I didn't walk out. I didn't, just try to sit out through the rest of my contract. I fulfilled my obligations and then I peaced out. That part I can, I do respect that part. I think overall though, with, the timing of this, everything coming with this is definitely like, we've got all the juice right now. Let's continue to add more.
I think that, and it's been compared to the Punk thing. I think it's nothing like the Punk interview. He was only really negative towards one person. Everyone else pretty much got off scot-free. I have to say, like he repeatedly said, there are a lot of great people that work here. My wife works here, and I wanted to make sure that I left and didn't, bother any of them. Which is great. Yeah, in the process, and I think people expected more tea. I think people are also overblowing a lot of things. Keep it 100 Meelz. Like we know about a bunch of this type of stuff that goes on. Like the creative, we know the creative's not good. I don't know why him saying it is like this Elmo. The Elmo meme.
I think it's because it's the actual.
Like it's just like a lot of it's isn't really surprising to me. I
think it's because an actual person is saying it. You know what I'm saying? Like so many people, it's very rare you get this kind of unfiltered, unabashed sort of view on this. It's very rare that you get someone who's legitimately sitting you down, going through a situation, and you kind of get a peek inside the brain of this. And the only reason why people would compare it to Punk is because I think from the perspective of it, this is the first time since the Punk one that we've got this perspective from a major WWE superstar who has left and said, like, hey, boom, who doesn't currently have his own podcast, I'll say that, who has come and sort of like outed them in this way. And like, this is my mind, this is my thinking.
Yeah, but I still just thought it was like, yeah, I mean, every Vince kind of goes the same way. Like, we all know that like Dean ain't going to change his mind any more than Triple H does, and that man's around him all the time. All
right, so hold on. Well, let's talk about this. Has your view on Dean Ambrose changed since those pretty much his WWE run and then after listening to this podcast?
What do you mean?
Has your perspective on him changed in terms of like, we all were like, this Dean thing ain't hitting. He's not the best in the ring. He's not the best with what he's given, all these other stuff. Like, the character of it is kind of stale. Does anything kind of change for you in terms of just been like...
There had to have been a time. Well, here's my thing. There had to have been a time where he was completely okay with this. There had to have been. Because he was all in, so to speak, on that shit. There had to have been a time. Like, he primarily sticks to the last year and a half, 2 years of his contract on this interview, pretty much.
Right.
Where he had been burnt out. I think the first half, sure, like Dean was never crazy in anything that wasn't a Shield 6-man anyway. So like, you know, the in-ring for me, that's not going to change. I don't think it's going to change unless it's like a non-death match anyway. I think all his matches in AEW should be like, he should be like the Sandman of AEW, bro. Like it should, that's how it should be. But like, I think that, you know, talking about the Roman thing, stuff like that. Like, these were things that we questioned at that time, but we did still like the turn. Right. Like, we still fucked with the heel turn itself. We just thought that the actual, I think I remember saying on the show, like, Roman probably approved that. And then we learned that it was a Vince thing, which I think, you know, wherever Vince goes, Roman will probably be like, okay, cool. I give my blessing for that. But it was a bunch of things that, like, now listening to what he said and how he said, I was like, okay, I understand where he comes from. But his experience is like a lot of people's experience, but it's weird in WWE. A lot of people like play the game differently. Like, I saw someone say, like, I wonder what Daniel Bryan thinks about this. I'm like, I'm pretty sure Daniel Bryan goes through the same shit or probably worse than what Dean Ambrose went through in 2014. And he's still there. And right. I think that his situation, his relationship with Vince is different. I don't think that, like, you think that a lot of the stuff that he's doing right now, Vince was like, okay, I'm gonna come up with this idea. Fuck no. I think a lot of that is Bryan. And that's because his relationship with Vince is different.
And I think his overall character is different as well. I feel like, so when they stuck the lunatic fringe on Dean Ambrose, I think that opened up a lot of country for a lot of kooky shit, because it opened up a lot of the phrase of like, well, you're Dean Ambrose, man. You can make anything work. Like, in terms of,
and he did.
But I agree, but it opens up a lot of country that perhaps he wanted to sort of get reeled in. I agree. One thing I'll agree with him is that the WWE sort of, the ideas that are pitched to him and the things that are being said were absolute garbage. And I think a lot of it has hindered the experience, but I also think for what he wants, WWE isn't right for him.
Yeah.
I think he wants to be a little bit untapped, a little bit rated R, a little bit thing, but you can't really necessarily be that. You kind of have to reel it in. WWE is here for the sort of entertainment purposes, and he's here to sort of play like the killer in a movie, a rated R movie.
I think I respect it because he's speaking from his experience. Like, I don't think anyone should be listening to this and saying, wow, man, I wonder if Tyler Breeze feels the same. I wonder, like, Tyler Breeze will probably be would kill probably to be featured the way Dean Ambrose was in his last 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, like, the experience is not the same for everybody. And I think that's what I learned the most from this. It's like, damn, look at how long it took for Kofi to get up that high, you know? And then he's been doing it on his own terms for over 5 years with the New Day. And he finally gets the title, you know? It's like, and we always say this, you get what you want, just not when you want it, you know? And for some people, that's just not enough. And I'm okay with that with Dean. But like, I feel like, again, the discourse around this is that, man, I feel like this is like the CM Punk interview all over again. It's just like, it's not. Because even Punk's situation is different from Dean's. But the only constant still, you know, stays the same. It's that creative is always going to be where Vince goes. Depending on your relationship with Vince, that's where your creative goes. And I think that like one thing that stuck out was that like Dean would get these edits, he said, and it would be like, Dean needs to understand that this is the way that it has to go. And I think that him being insubordinate, it might have made Vince feel as though he was being like real, hostile towards him. He was like, well, I'm gonna show him. So it becomes two bulls trying to fight each other. And Dean just got tired of it.
It's weird because when you're, and this is why I continue to say that WWE was in the right place for him. When you're under WWE, you're kind of owned by WWE. You become their entity as in a character in a show, as opposed to just like your own kind of wrestler. So ultimately, it's Vince McMahon's show, and you understand that when you sign on the dotted line. It's just like all characters, all things, all beings go through Vince, and you're representing his vision on his show.
Wow, speechless.
I know, it's just it's weird because I completely understand where he's coming from.
I think everyone does.
Completely understand where he's coming from. I completely agree that a lot of things that were given to him was crap, and that kind of messed up the character of Dean Ambrose, and that essentially messed up the time. And
but Meelz, there was a point where like he was all in on that shit. Like the Money in the Bank Seth Rollins angle where he opened up the fucking briefcase and it spit out green shit at him.
You think he was in on
that?
Yeah, but you think he was in on that? You think he was in on that though? I mean, people love it at all.
Some of that shit he was in on.
I think
he's talking like he was never down for none of that shit. And that's cap. There was some shit he was in on.
I think the last 18. I want to actually go back to probably that Dean Ambrose WWE 24, which was kind of.
It's eerie. It's eerie when you think about that shit now.
Yeah, because I wanted to sort of watch that. I wanted to watch this before this, but I didn't have any time. But it's very eerie sort of when you watch it because you're seeing a person sort of, I wouldn't say mentally break down, but it's like these two, to me, the line between Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, and Jonathan, whatever, it's like a very weird line that kind of overlaps from time to time. I do think that there's generally like, I don't know, that thing made me make me feel like, yo, does he have some sort of like split personality type of deal?
Probably.
Because
here's my thing. Like when I go back to saying like there was a time where he was fucking with it, but it was like, I also look at that as like before when all that silly shit was going on, that was the height of what he was doing. Everyone loved him. Like people were calling him the new Stone Cold. But when you look at when he was unhappy, it was when the creative started being a little bit more shit than usual or more like treadmill. That's when he wasn't cool with it no more. I'm talking like right after he got injured, when he was coming back and he saw that the creative was going to be kind of like the same as it was before. But that's why I say like he was probably fucking with some of that shit.
But I think just,
like Meelz, you can't say that he was like, the way he was talking on that, he was like, I never liked anything they gave me. Like, come on.
No, I wouldn't say that. I think he accepted a lot of things that he gave him, that they gave him, and he did the exact things that they gave him. But I think in terms of just like, all right, let's watch this character evolve. As an artist, you become unfulfilled, and sort of being.
You think he knew he wasn't going to get the title again?
No, I don't think that's the case at all. I think he was just realistically, creatively unfulfilled by the things that were given to him. At some point, it didn't become fun because at some point it was not only the same thing over and over again, which he's been done over the last 6 years of just like spitting mustard in people's faces and telling, various countries and states how much they stink.
I thought that was funny.
I thought that was weird. I thought it was weird in the thing. I was just like, why is he saying this? It doesn't seem to come off as and this isn't like post like this interview where he like acknowledges it, but during that moment he acknowledges it. I'm like, aha, like I knew something was off about that. How did you feel post? He lets them know the news and kind of his direction from there. They deny Jax thing.
I think we had all knew that I think we even said it on the show, like he's going to go out on his back a lot. I think we knew that he was going to get punished.
The Nia Jax thing. They offered him a new contract, didn't even bother to look at it. They paid him $500 for his final show.
Petty.
That was petty.
You know Vince Petty.
Yeah, but that's still messed up, man. Like,
bro,
you got to pay $500 to do less life-threatening things.
I mean, hey, we know. My thing is, we know Vince Petty. Like, my thing is, like, how long are we going to just, this is a shitty business, man.
No, I don't think it's a shitty business. I honestly think some people who run it are shitty, and not shitty as in like they're shitty people. I don't think but there's also two sides to the story too. I understand, but I also think that creatively, like, their ideas are shit. Like, I think creatively, sort of part of the business is shit. I think the way people, in terms of backstage, kind of do their jobs, or at least from what we've heard, and the way the business is sort of run in terms of just like, it's not the best. I think and we can see from the current product that it's not the best. There's just a lot of unfulfillment, a lot of people who are just sitting on the sidelines. We're going to talk about it on the show, but I think it's not the best. But he does say, I mean, he does look forward to his future in AEW. He says he looks forward to the freedom. He looks forward to being himself.
So yeah, we wish Jon Moxley the best in his future endeavors. I think that even if I wasn't a fan of his creative and his in-ring, I think he definitely is a character that has resonated with a lot of people, obviously. And I think that
at the end of the day, how much you blame on creative? How good is Jon Moxley anyway?
What you mean? How much do I blame?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think I liked a Dean Ambrose match in about 2 years. Keep it on it. Since the AJ stuff. So it's like, to me, it's not a big loss to me. I don't even think it's like a huge loss to WWE. Like, I think they have a bunch of people that can slide into that position.
I think it's a little half and half. No, I think it's more on WWE's things for how they sort of fumbled it. But I also think, like, let's keep it 100 with you. Like, before this AEW thing, no one was talking about Dean Ambrose or Jon Moxley in great light.
Mm-hmm.
So it's no reason to kind of like, oh man, like, they did him wrong. Like, people weren't clamoring over the matches. People weren't clamoring over the character. People weren't clamoring over a lot of things. People wanted to see Seth. They wanted to see Roman. They wanted to see things. But people weren't saying, like, damn, you know what? Dean Ambrose didn't get his due. Like, he's really, like, one of the top guys there. Like, people weren't saying that, to be honest with you. People say that about Cesaro. People say that a lot of other people, especially on the card right now, that we'll get onto. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Speaking of creative, let's get to Raw. A show that had a very strong, like, you want to talk about like how creative is like up and down. Like, I watched this show, looking on Twitter, I would have thought this was the worst thing that had ever happened. I think this show had a very strange first hour where there were literally no matches. I don't even know why they did that. They had no matches in the first hour.
I think they were trying something different. It did not work. It was these kind of like this weaving between segments and storylines and moments and sections and things like that. That didn't build anything. The open of the show, wow. Well, first of all, how do you feel about Boombox Brock? Because we didn't get your views on it last week.
I loved it last week, and I loved it more this week. I think Brock is just such a piece of shit character. Like, he just loves being the shit-eating heel.
It's rare for him to have this natural charisma. It's rare for Brock. I mean, don't get me wrong, Brock Lesnar
to show it off. Yeah,
to show it off. Yeah, I mean, he has charisma in terms of like, okay, you believe the things that he is, but he doesn't have that kind of like smarmy, smirky, evil, actual heel charisma.
I saw people saying, I can't believe they're doing comedy Brock. And I was like, did y'all not see 2003 Brock against Eddie? Like, did y'all forget that?
First of all, have you not seen every villain in any major movie in the last, like, in terms of just like how villains are not just these one-dimensional, like, I breathe smoke, I shoot fire, like all these type of deals. They have characters. Some of them are assholes. Brock Lesnar is one of them.
I think this is This is the most interesting Brock has been to me in years, maybe. Like I think him with the Money in the Bank provides a level of stress and pressure where the WWE could realistically, like they did at Money in the Bank, the actual pay-per-view, he could just show up anywhere. I love
that's the scariest thing about it, right? The scariest thing is that he's laughing in your face because he knows at the end of the day, like, listen, this is at one point it's going to be over for somebody.
Right. And he's got a year, and he realized this too on Raw.
Oh, well, first of all, the weirdest part about it, and I talked about this before in our discussion earlier, is that you brought up Brock Lesnar twice. Rare. That's rare on the same show, especially within 1 hour after the next. So you brought him out twice.
I think to pop the second hour rating, which I think was the highest rated. Let's be clear, Raw did abysmal on Monday, but I think it did. But yeah, it was a holiday. Nothing did well on Monday, but I think the second hour he did pop a rating for that. So there you go.
I think the fact that they brought him out for the first hour and then they brought him out for a second hour for completely the same result. They brought on as just like, hey, we're going to cash in this Money in the Bank thing. They didn't do it the first hour. I get it. Let's leave it there. It's not going to happen. The second hour, they bring him back out to do with the same result of like, we're still not cashing in. I was just like, what is going on here?
The Seth segment was the second time, right? The Kofi was the first, Seth was the second, right?
Well, Kofi and Seth were in the first segment.
Okay.
It was just Seth in the second segment. It was very weird.
Kofi got beat up, right?
Mind you, Kofi is also feuding with Dolph Ziggler, and Seth Rollins is getting a challenger presented to him later in the evening. So it's kind of all these kind of like cross signal kind of dealies. That's not really.
I hate Wildcard right now, and I wish it would go away. I think it's a little more noticeable on SmackDown than Raw, but I really don't.
Way more noticeable on Raw than SmackDown. That's where
I think what kills it on Raw is the fact that the tag teams are gone completely on Raw because of it.
Right.
Because you got to have time for Roman on on both shows now. It's like it's very strange.
It's Roman on both shows. It's Shane on both shows. It's Kofi on both shows. It's Becky on both shows. And that's really who's the kind of extent of the wild card. And R-Truth on both shows, which I can't be mad at.
I'm cool with that. I'm okay with that. Let's talk about Ricochet and Cesaro having a banger. I remember you said a couple of minutes ago that they have a great match every week, and I thought this was part of the course between these two. This is their second match together in as many weeks, and I thought that Ricochet. Remember, I said like they were putting him against Robert fucking Roode, and I think that just showed he's not dynamic against someone who only does headlocks.
Right.
I think you give him Cesaro, he's able to do all of his cool shit. But I think the thing about Ricochet that and I said this even when he was in NXT, is that like he's not just a flippy guy anymore. Like he's a guy that builds spots off of these moves, where it's like these moves don't become aerial, spots. They become spots of him trying to survive. Like the finish of that match was tremendous to me because it was literally him coming out of nowhere and improvising in order to win. I really liked this match. It was probably my favorite match of the show on Raw.
I think Cesaro is a great person and a great foil for Ricochet.
Yeah,
someone who flips. Someone who's able to take this, someone who's able to dish out believable offense, someone who's able to take these moves. Not a lot of people will be able to take the moves that Cesaro does, or be able to, do the creative spots that he kind of does, or things like that. I think every once in a while, Cesaro has to remind you that he's one of the greatest wrestlers on earth currently, walking, living, breathing. And this was no exception. I really love the match. I hope they continue it. I hope they put it on a pay-per-view. I hope they continue to sell it. I think, especially in a sort of wild card situation where a lot of people aren't getting time, these are two guys who...
They're flourishing, I'll say.
They're flourishing for now.
I still say Ricochet, they see something with him. I mean, he at least has direction here. I never a fan of him losing so much, but I get it. He does get his wins back, which is always weird.
He's going to have to lose eventually. I mean, he's going to have to lose eventually. I don't think we're leading towards anything. To me, we're not leading towards anything with Ricochet now. We're just kind of establishing Ricochet. We're trying to get eyes on him and let people really kind of see what he's made of and things like that. But I think eventually, probably by the end of the year, they're going to probably prop him up closer to the main event.
I hope. The through line story other than 24/7 this week was the Usos and the Revival, and they had a cookout, and you know what, I liked it.
I like it
I really
too.
did like the Uso stuff. I like the Uso Revival stuff. I know a lot of people. Here's my thing with the Revival thing. It's like people complain so much about them not getting TV time or being made to look like this, that, and the third. They've been the most interesting than they've ever been in this feud with the Usos ever. I fucks with this feud, and I like that it's the Usos that are doing it with them.
I feel like it's a clash of cultures. It's a clash of styles. It's a clash of so many things that even when you look at the screen, all you need to do is look at a picture and you kind of know what's going on.
Right.
You kind of it's something that can sort of build itself, and it's got these natural chemistry between these four guys who do amazing work in the ring and haven't really been against each other, but also they're not just in-ring guys. They're guys who can translate that on the mic, translate that in backstage segments. They're making it work, and they're making it believable, and you're making you buy into this sort of rivalry. I dig it. It's something different. I respect it,
I liked it. I liked that it was I liked that they kept them on the show. I was talking about this earlier this week. I have noticed that the actual tag team champions haven't been on the show in about 3 weeks, and
I don't even know who they are.
It's Ryder and Hawkins.
Oh yeah,
and they were last time we saw them. They were getting beat by the Viking Raiders. So I'm guessing that that's going to happen eventually soon. I would imagine that whoever comes out on top of this Revival Usos feud will be facing the Viking Raiders, and I would imagine that that's going to be pretty awesome when it does happen, if it ever happens.
I hate the Wildcard Rule.
Me too. Another great match that I really liked on this show, and a lot of people saw differing opinions on it, was a Miz, Baron, Bobby, Drew elimination match. I think that Bobby Lashley looked really good in this match.
I think, you know what? I think people didn't like this match because they give you four guys who you're not supposed to. For wrestling fans, are not rooting for.
Yeah, like why is Miz always the only face in these matches?
And why is he always taking the pin? Like, goddamn, like, come on, man. Like, Bobby can't eat. Bobby can't eat it. Like, I bet Miz, when Miz saw he's in in this ring with these three horses, he was like, oh, bam, I am losing today.
He makes it work. I think he does make it work. The crowd is firmly behind Miz in a way that I've never seen, even, as a face, even in a loss, he doesn't really look like a geek, but it was the same way when he was a heel too. I think he's just one guy that like fans will hate him if he wants them to, and they'll love him if he wants them to too. Like I'm very much all in on Miz's face turn, and I honestly think he should be the U.S. champion if you want to keep it on it.
I think he's in terms of just what he's brought to it, he's probably the most recognizable mid card on the show. Like he's in terms of just an attraction match. It's like, okay, the Miz. First of all, he can do his part in the ring as of now. And then that people will be actually watching. And then people are actually legitimately cheering for the Miz. Baron Corbin goes over. So now Baron Corbin will be going up against Seth Rollins at Super Showdown.
Super Showdown is a sneaky good card. It's got some sneaky good matches on there.
This is a sneaky me sneaking away to the bathroom during this match.
Well, that one would be, but I mean, I think we're going to be seeing Seth and Baron a lot this summer.
Yeah. I mean, they look like they'll be doing. This is a very much so a house show match, and this is very much so a house show. Yes.
Main event on the show. Actually, there was women's stuff on this show. Becky.
I like Becky and Nikki versus the Iconics.
It was cool. I think I like the
finisher. The finisher.
No, that finisher? Hell nah.
That finisher's a no. The manhandle, nah. We go back to the drawing board. Just do a rock bottom. Like
that shit was ass.
We were trying to figure out like, was it Peyton? Was it Becky? I was like, I think the move stinks. I think I'm looking back at it now, and that move is just do the rock bottom, girl.
Yeah, forgot it here. Yeah, no. Sami Zayn's electric chair segment.
Oh, do you think they should do that more? Be honest.
No. Bad idea from the jump. Yeah.
I say give it another week. If it's just Sami, I like the incest comment, but it was cringy. Give it another week. I say give it another week. It might not. I feel like this is one this is one moment away from this being immortalized, like a Talking Smack or I don't know what else, Bite This or something along those lines. Like, this is one thing away from being immortalized. The Electric Chair is the segment name, hosted by Corey Graves.
It led
There's
to
an electric chair in the ring. That spins.
Electric chair propped up on a spinning swivel.
That spins, so you can see all the fans and insult all the fans.
I wish an ex-con or not an ex-con, but a con, somebody on death row, like, was able to spin their electric chair around.
No, but I thought, all right, I'm not totally against this version. I think it's something different. I think it's something.
I bring it up because I think Sammy was wilding for even talking about AEW.
I feel like it's a nice. Well, I think it's a nice third hour thing. Two, why the hell not? Yeah. Why not? Like, what are we? I think for the last decade, WWE has ignored, like, we don't say TNA on the show. It's going to do this pop. Let's get it out the way from now, so it's not a thing in 3-4 years for the next 3-4 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have to hear AEW chanted every show now that Sami Zayn has acknowledged that this thing exists and it's a brand.
Right.
Like, let's get it out of the way from now. I liked it. I liked the little questions. I liked the duh from the little girl. I thought it was adorable.
Yeah.
I say try it one more time. If it bombs, I'm all agree. I'm throwing it out and never using that chair again.
Well, it led to a pretty solid main event, honestly. I think the actual matches on Raw were actually really good. I think that the main event was really solid. I don't think we see Sammy and Seth enough or very much on.
Sami Zayn's kind of been propping up the main event scene, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he has, and I really like. I think that he, with his character now, he should be rewarded greatly with a really good top of the card spot. I think he holds the same type of cachet that Kevin Owens does on SmackDown, and that he can have a good match with pretty much everybody.
I don't think that's cachet though. If it was Jon Moxley, it might not be the greatest cachet, to be honest with you.
Yikes, you're right. But yeah, I thought it was a really good main event. I thought Seth sold the knee very well there and did a lot of really cool shit with the one knee stuff, like doing the one-legged frog splash, like jump off with the one leg. I thought that was a really cool spot. I thought it was really good. Let me just say, I love the booking of Becky, Seth, and Kofi as their face champions.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting
the strongest they've been behind these face champions in quite some time.
Yes, clean wins. They look cool. They have conviction. I love this. I love the if there's anything we complain about the creative, I cannot rave enough about how they made the faces look this year so far.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. I think we're gonna remember these runs a lot differently than probably what we're going through now in terms of all the creative blah 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 in the WWE. But yeah,
the match quality as always stellar. I thought second half of Raw was really good. SmackDown Live, really nice weaving of the 24/7 title throughout the show here. I really liked it.
Now we didn't get your thoughts last week on it. It was unveiled last week. It was a thing. Yeah. You could hear a fart in section 110 after it was unveiled.
And I agree with you. You don't bring Foley out to do stuff like that anymore.
I mean, but who else do you bring on?
It could have been fucking anybody. It could have just been Shane doing it, honestly, because it also would have made narrative sense because Shane was the one who introduced it. Mm-hmm. And Shane could have been the one that said, okay, I stop it for the night. Like, I thought that would have been cool. I thought I was like, man, if you didn't have Foley do it, you could have had Shane be the guy that paused it just for that moment, like he did on SmackDown on Tuesday night. But honestly, overall, 24/7 title, like if it gets everyone on the show and it's something where, guys like EC3 and even Cedric Alexander get to do a spot a night, cool. I'm fine with
Benny
it.
Hill theme playing behind them as they're running backstage.
I'm cool with that too. I mean, again, people always want to say they missed the Attitude Era when things mattered, and it's like, okay, here's a thing that matters. That's the title.
It's the thing that mattered. The 24/7 title, by all means, is continued the legend of R-Truth, I will say. In terms of
Hall of Famer, two-timer. Taking
anything that's given to him. Jon Moxley-esque material.
And making, I thought it was good with
No, he's making complete gold out of it.
He makes chicken salad out of chicken shit, so to speak, and it's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
I thought his storyline with Roman was very good tonight or on Tuesday night. He of course lost the. I love the weaving a lot more in SmackDown than I did on Raw.
It's
so
good to prop up your guys in these sort of main event things. Like, you'll never know if they're able to go, and you never know how much people would be able to get behind them if you don't prop them up in these sort of deals. Like, I think, first of all, R-Truth is evergreen over. He's just going to be over like Rover until the rest of his life. And putting him with Roman Reigns, also Rover over.
He was woo.
And then, so you have the situation that's like, well, R-Truth just got his ass kicked. Roman Reigns, he's fighting from behind against these really two buff guys. How will this end up? I thought it was great. I thought it was great television. I thought it was a great story.
It did remind me of 97.
Yeah, I thought it was a great story of just weaving. First of all, you got the title in there. Boom. In terms of if you want to put over this championship that you just introduced, you're putting it in the main event. It's great. You're getting Roman in there in a creative way. You're getting Elias and Drew in there, Shane McMahon in there. You're killing like 4 birds with one stone in the span of 2 segments. I thought it was a lot better than how they did for the opening of Monday Night Raw, where they kind of just like, it was just like an orgy of like things. But this one just felt a lot more creative and it felt a lot more natural.
One more thing that I did love about SmackDown, the opening match, just getting right to it between Kofi and Kevin Owens. I have to tell you right now, Meelz, I did want to tell you last week, I've come around. I am a very, as you probably guessed already with how glowing I am about how they're treating the champions. I think Kofi's reign is pretty damn good, man.
Listen, when you're right, you're right. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'll say about this.
You don't have to do all that. God damn.
Listen, the Kofi Kingston reign is great.
I know you're not a fan of the Dolph thing, but I think the Dolph Ziggler thing is cool. Kofi has to have these kind of like, buffer matches in between things to get him to bigger feuds. And I think that the Dolph thing is going to be cool. I think it's going to be a cool match. It's definitely not going to be a bad match. I think Dolph still has good matches.
It's not going to be a bad match at all.
Like, I think it'll be, and we haven't seen these guys wrestle in years. So I do think that match is going to be at least solid. I won't see it because it's going to be at the Super Showdown, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be cool.
I could do without Dolph. That's all I'm saying. Great match between Kofi and KO. I thought it was a great little nice way to wrap it up. They're still making Kofi Kingston look incredibly strong, incredibly champion-esque, someone who's at the top of his division and cannot be touched right now. I thought it was great. I'm wondering what happens to KO post this. We will see. But yeah,
I think they go right back to it after, because he's not going to Saudi Arabia. So I think they go right back to it. Because remember when Bryan wasn't going and they had AJ beat him right before?
But that's Bryan and Styles. This is KO.
But I'm still confident.
They haven't been the nicest to KO. They legitimately woke him up out of a several month slumber for him to lose multiple matches. They brought him back to lose a lot.
No, I didn't even bring him back for that. I wait and see.
All right, yeah, we can definitely wait and see.
Bryan and Rowan had a great promo on Tuesday.
Was it really?
I thought it was really funny.
Was it really?
When Heavy Machinery came out, the look on his fucking face.
The look on my face. How about that? The look on my face was incredibly different. You know what? I'm sure they'll make magic out of this. I'm still not Heavy Machinery guy. Give me someone else. Give me Viking Raiders.
This is why you put Daniel Bryan in these positions to elevate these guys, because you never know who it's going to be. You never know.
You never know. Sometimes it's Big Cass. Sometimes it's AJ Styles. You never know. Oh
gosh, see, that's backhanded. But at the end of the day, I think there's definitely something that they see in Heavy Machinery. And I think that, if you have a tag team division, they have to defend it. And I think that, Bryan's slogan of saving the tag team division is really solid. I like it. I'm going to wait and see with this one as well and see where this goes. I think the match will happen soon.
I'm all in this for Daniel Bryan and literally no one else.
Oh God, yeah, man, he's held up his end of the bargain. I think. I thought the Usos match that they did where they won the belts was really, really good, and I think Rowan was a part of that. He was not just a body.
Are you sure?
Go rewatch it. It was not just a body. I think I went like 3 1/4 on that one. It's really good.
I mean, he got to wrestle in the match. I mean, yeah, but are we sure he's not just a body?
All right, man. All right.
Have you seen? You remember Pinky and the Brain?
Meelz, you're a Rusev fan, bro.
You remember Pinky and the Brain? Do you remember Snowball? That's what Eric Rowan reminded me of. There's a giant rat inside of his brain controlling him with controls.
Okay.
That's what he reminds me of. Snowball. Eric Rowan.
Okay. All right. Anyway. Bayley. Looking strong too.
Bayley. I mean, yeah.
You're waiting for the other shoe to drop for her, which
I'm waiting for the anvil. I'm waiting for Charlotte Flair to show up with an anvil and drop it on her, and that'll be it. I can never. Here's the thing: they haven't done a great job over the last. How long has Bayley been up here? 5 years? 4 years? 3 years? They haven't done a great job in them instilling confidence in me about Bayley. I guess this is the same thing that you experienced with the Kofi Kingston thing before they turned you around. But I know the anvil is coming.
I don't think so.
But for right now, she's doing a great job.
Yeah.
But it's not that we didn't think she would ever do a great job, because Bayley's great at what she does. But
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But there was just never in terms of being the if you talk about being a third wheel, I mean, Sasha Banks probably feels like the most neglected thing right now, but it was Bayley. Bayley took a lot more L's before Sasha ever did.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
I think the fact that we think she's going to lose all the time actually adds to her matches. Because I thought she was going to lose the Lacey match and she did it. And I was like, wow, I'm actually happy that she won.
How do you feel about afterwards, where Charlotte Flair just decided F all of this and she beat up Lacey Evans? Do you think?
Well, Lacey started it.
That doesn't look good for Lacey Evans, though, to be honest with you. They might need to have a match on Monday.
She put the toe jam in her face.
It's them ugly heels, man.
I think that I think Lacey's performing at a very high level right now, especially with the top women, like the horsewomen right now.
I think she's performing at a high level because she's with people who are at a high level. I think if you put her against anyone else, it becomes a little bit more apparent of what level she's at.
Well, I think Becky was a fucking body in that match at Money in the Bank. Lacey was doing all types of flips and shit, and Becky was just there.
Becky is trying to position this match around, and Lacey Evans out there. She went to the level of Lacey Evans. She also knew she had a match against Charlotte Flair literally right after. So it's like she can't use all the good stuff.
One day you will see.
I mean,
one day you will see.
Continue. I wish I had the table. Sell me on Lacey Evans, please, by all means. Do
prove me wrong.
Prove me wrong.
Lacey Evans is trash. Prove me wrong.
And I'm ready there. I'm ready. I'm waiting.
Let's. I want to pour out a little liquor.
Let's do it.
Let's pour out a little liquor on the missing SmackDown Live superstars.
First of all, I want to pull up this roster. There's a lot more missing than we think.
But first up, I want to pour out some liquor for Rusev and Nakamura.
Nakamura, former NXT champion, multiple time NXT champion,
former US champion.
Did you know that he almost main evented WrestleMania once?
Yeah, or he did. I mean, he was one of the main events.
No, you wouldn't be able to tell me that.
Oh God,
in a couple weeks.
Buddy Murphy as well.
Buddy Murphy, he literally asking for a match against a heel on Twitter.
victim of the wild card, I think.
Victim of the wild card.
We can omit. I think we can omit that guy he challenged to. I think that they are waiting to. He's not missing. It's clear they have something for him. They're waiting for it.
Listen, pour one up for. I guess Apollo Crews has been on the show. He's been running.
Yeah, he's been on the show.
Pour one up.
He's been running for a belt.
Pour one up for Sin Cara, man.
I'm pouring right now. Go ahead. SmackDown, I think more than anything, like I know I just said this, SmackDown is a proponent of like getting like the best of the shakeup and then like literally like doing nothing with it a week later.
Pour one up for Finn Balor. My man has literally been
you know why he wasn't on the show. It's because of
with this fake injury. Don't give me that shit. Everyone was in the match.
That shit was not fake, bro.
There
nobody got fucked up like Finn Balor did.
He looked hurt.
Nobody got fucked up. Stop being an asshole, bro. You know that nobody was taking those bumps like he was on that day, dog. No way,
hurt, dog. He looked hurt. They hurt his soul.
They beat the shit out of him, and I do not blame him for not being on the show.
Wobble out next week in Saudi Arabia. He looked hurt.
Oh my god! But no, I'm not pouring out for Finn Balor because he's still a focal part. He was at least fucking mentioned on the show this week.
Pour one out for Chad Gable.
Pouring one
out for Chad Gable. Let's see. Let's pour one out for the missing members of Sanity. Pour one out for them.
No, they're not missing. Eric Young was on Raw.
Well, Killian Dane is missing.
Killian Dane will probably be on NXT soon, and Alexander Wolf showed up on NXT UK this week. Shout out to Eric Hallow.
Yeah, make sure you follow that show, The Call Up. Let's see. Let's pour for who's on Monday Night Raw. We got to pour for. I guess everyone was in that barbecue, huh?
Wow. Okay.
Still,
I think Mr. Booty'sworth was at that barbecue too.
Everyone was there, man. I mean, I feel like pour one out for the people from Mojo Rawley who got a new gimmick and can't even use it.
I'm glad. Are we pouring up for that? I'm not gonna waste whatever's in this glass on that. I'm not gonna waste it.
Pour one up for Samoa Joe, because if it's not him getting hurt, it's his opponents.
No, he was on Raw on Monday, man. Shut up.
Pour one up for him.
I'm not pouring. He was on the show, Meelz. These are people that aren't on the show at all.
Pour one up for No Way Jose, who thought new extensions would get him a spot on the show.
All right, pour another one out.
Pour one up for Leo Rush.
I said they should have had Seth Rollins curb stomp him into a box that was labeled WWE PC.
Pour one up for him, man. Pour one up for Cedric Alexander. They brought him from the depths of 205
He was on Monday night. He was on Raw this week.
From the 205 Live. You see him now. You might as well, if you attached a compilation of his Monday Night Raw moments, a lot of it's going to be the Benny Hill theme playing. I'll be honest with you.
A lot of it's going to be that Cesaro match.
Like the little Flintstones running over the feet. Like
a lot of it is going to be the Cesaro match that he had that first week.
The one that he lost? Yeah, I remember that.
Well, you knew he was going to lose that shit. But I'm not pouring out for him because he showed up on the fucking show. I'm talking people that don't show up at all.
Pour out for EC3. Having to watch MJF.
He was on Raw.
EC3 has to watch MJF do his gimmick.
Meelz, you're not being fair right now. I'm talking about people
against
who are not
Bret
on the
Hart, bro. Bret the Hitman Hart. MJF. By all means, I don't know him. I was about to call him a goober, but I don't know him that well.
He looks like a manager at TGI Fridays.
Yeah. All right, goober-esque, goober Jace. EC3.
I'm not pouring out.
Who's perfected that gimmick, having to see someone else insult Bret Hart.
I'm not pouring out for him. He showed up on the show.
Pour one out for the Lucha House Party, who's got a job to Lars Sullivan at the Super Showdown.
They're on the show, Meelz. What are you talking about? They're on the show.
But they have the job to Lars Sullivan.
Well, let's pour one out for them when that happens.
Pour one out for them. All right.
You're naming people that are clearly that show up on that show almost weekly. Don't say Matt Hardy either because he showed up too.
He was running with his one bad hip. Pour one out for just an internal pour one out for the Ascension. I don't know how they're still here. How have they not jump ship to AEW? How have they not determined?
Does AEW want them?
I would say so, probably. They ain't doing nothing with them. You probably think they could reinvent them.
Yeah, good luck. I ain't pouring out for that either. I'm saving the last couple of names you've named. I've saved in the bottle. I've saved the liquid in the bottle.
Pour one out for damn. They've all been on the show. Damn.
Yeah, thank you. A lot of people have been on the show. A lot of people that we like.
Pour one out for Liv Morgan.
There we go. I was waiting
pour one out for Liv.
That's a long pour. That's a long pour.
All right, it's a long for you, but
wow.
Got to pour one out for Liv Morgan. Just didn't have a chance. She's perfectly fine and able, and it seems she's fine. Actually, you know what? I don't want to say that. It seems she's fine and able. But
I think she's not injured. She probably would have said something on Twitter.
pour one out for Mickey James too. Mickey James.
That's a pour. That's a pour.
In cute outfits backstage with no one to see it. That's
a pour. Okay, I think that's it.
Yeah, pouring out for Asuka, just for me.
She's. I don't know what they're doing, but she does still show up on the show.
Allegedly, like the women's.
Wasn't she just on the show last week?
She was just contending for what happened. What's with the women's tag? Pour one out for the women's tag team division.
All right, Meelz, we're done with this.
What's going on with that?
They at least showed up on the damn show this week.
Pour one out for 205 Live.
Oh God! All right. I think that's it for the show this week.
Pour one out for Mike and Maria. You know their contract's up in 3 weeks.
I ain't pouring out shit for them.
Maria just had to make it clear that our contracts are up in 3 weeks. He was like, oh, just go, girl. Just go. It's like, it's not a big deal. Just leave.
I don't give a fuck. That's it for the show. Of course, follow us at RNC Radio Live for all the latest and greatest of our shows. We just had an episode of Spot Callers with myself and Meelz and Cyrus going over Heroes of Wrestling, a very infamous show for its 20-year anniversary. We did not even talk about NXT, of course, because we have a show called The Call Up with Eric Hallow that airs on Fridays. I believe that we will be making an appearance on the show to actually do the prediction for TakeOver 25 on Saturday. So take a look, or actually not take a look, but keep a lookout for that on Friday with myself and Meelz. We'll be joining Kahlo to give our predictions on NXT 25 on his first prediction show. So congratulations to him for actually getting a TakeOver to review and predict within a month of his premiere. And we have so much other stuff going on. You had a new episode of The Lookout this week, Meelz. You want to talk about what you're talking about on that?
We had a great episode of Lookout with Rainey. Shout out to Rainey Ovale. We talked about, some cool anime shit, some cool Dragon Ball Z shit. It's really, really good.
All right.
It's really good. It's really good.
Okay. You made it sound like some Smack DVD shit there.
No, I mean, it's cool. It's very, very cool. It's past my bedtime. Come on.
I know. Just to wrap it up, just everything that's happening on RNC. We also had the finals preview on RSBN with Mark, Jeff, and special guest that Persian guy from Toronto, talking about the feelings of how everybody in the city are feeling after the Raptors are going to go to the finals to get smacked in 5 games or less by the Golden State Warriors. I'm calling it right now. But yeah, until next week on the A Show for Meelz, I'm Justin. We'll see you guys next week.
My champion is still black, and he's doing really great. So thanks for asking.